Good day, folks. We're going to take a look at making decisions. This video will be in two parts because I think there's an awful lot to cover. What are we going to cover? Types of decisions. How do you make rational decisions? How are they really made? Group decision making, creative decision making, ethical decision making, and then how do we pull it all together? I think when we start with the there's three things that we're going to look at when we look at types of decisions: program versus non-program, strategic versus operational, top-down versus decentralized. Those are the three types that we make. Programmed, routine, addressing specific problems. When this happens, you do this, you do this, you do that. And they're often referred to as the procedures of the company, the policies, and they've had similar developed past experience. Through past experience, you've developed an approach to it. So the decision can be made, if this, check the rules, then make the decision. Okay? And these are routine decisions that are made. If the air conditioner doesn't work, we call the air conditioner repairman to come. If a customer has a complaint, what do you do? Oftentimes organizations have these nailed down. There's a different level of decision-making authority that each organization has. Then there's these non-programmed, novel things, unique situations. You got to use creativity. You got to figure out. There's no history of how to handle that. Now, we oftentimes have decision-making based on following a matrix. We do this, we do this, we do this. But whenever there's an exception to that, it requires intervention and looking at something unique. So that's programmed, non-programmed. The toughest managerial decisions we make are finance and investment. Where do we want to allocate our scarce capital? Staffing issues, including hiring and firing. These decisions are critical to the success of the organization because you want to hire the right person with the right set of skills, the right cultural fit into the organization. Oftentimes you're presented with 5-6 candidates. Each one of them has unique skills that you may need. So making that decision of who to hire is much harder because you're balancing. What are you trying to do? How do they fit with the team? Okay. Firing, on the other hand, I would like to put firing into, let's break that into two areas. One is what we'll call a reduction in force. And this is where the employee has done nothing wrong, but because of changing business direction, changing volumes, introduction of new technology, letting people go because of that is very hard, because it's the decision the company has made to do something, not anything the individual did. Those are the hardest things that I've ever had to do in my career, is let somebody go as a reduction in force because we were changing an approach, eliminating a function, automating this, because it's not reflective on them. Firing somebody because of performance issues is not a pleasant situation. Okay? It's not easy. Never easy to get rid of somebody. However, if you are managing people, you have identified what the person is doing incorrectly, what they should be doing. You come up with a plan for them to improve, and if they don't improve, you fire them. Not easy. But it's much easier to sit down with somebody and say, hey, I'm firing you because you didn't do boom, 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 versus a decision that, say, I made as the company. Opening a business, yeah, you're taking a risk, but that's very positive. Closing or selling a business unit, is, again, a tough decision. If you keep it very clinical, and the farther away you are from the people impacted, the decision is easier. But the closer you are to the business that's being sold, the harder it is because you know the people. At HSBC, we had the multiple branches, and they're deciding where are we going to put on capital. I had a branch in Dansville, New York. Very profitable. Some of the best people made a lot of money at the branch. It wasn't that it was a loser. It was actually making a lot of money. But did we have the option of opening something in Midtown or out in Brooklyn versus keeping an office in Dansville? There's no way I was going to be able to grow as much as the other branches were. So we had to sell the business. And one of the most important things when we were selling the business was, what about the people? That was my biggest concern. And we worked out a deal with the bank, and everybody stayed on. Everybody won. In fact, some people won extra big is they had enough years in that when the new bank took over, they could collect their pension from us, and they got to keep their job in the new bank and making money. So a lot of people won. Expanding is a little bit easier, still hard. Relocating, yeah, what's the impact on the people? Supplier, customer issues. Oh, dealing with customers. If you haven't dealt with customers yet, oh my God, what an experience. And one thing I learned from that is the customer's always the customer and should be treated that way. Doesn't mean the customer's always right. Issues with business partners. I think something should be done this way. Another group says it should be done that way. If we're all in agreement, the decision is easy. The tough decisions only come is when we don't necessarily have decisions, clear decisions. Let's look at these strategic versus so that was, we back up, we did that. So then there's strategic versus operational. Strategic is, where is the company going long term? Where's the focus? These decisions and direction are usually made by C-level executives, executive level management. Okay? And that's directionally. Now, hopefully, the senior executives take into account information from customers, suppliers, employees, etc., and stakeholders to make sure it's a good decision, but the actual decision is made at executive level of management. And in one that I'm working on now, it's about that I'm involved in, it's a nonprofit, is we're going to move forward and find strategic alternatives for the company. Okay? That's a decision we made as a board of directors and the executive management team. Operational decisions are those focused on the day-to-day running of the company. They're usually made at lower level management. So don't expect somebody, as you start working, that these strategic decisions are going to be made by someone you're close to. In a bigger organization, they're going to be farther up. Okay? So we got strategic and operational. So let me just go back and run through these real quick. Program versus non-program, strategic versus operational, top-down versus centralization. The top-down is it's passed down from the top, and decentralized is when employees can make decisions about their work. And it's a balance. I think organizations get hung up with, we can't make a decision at the low level because we can't trust them. Come back to theory X, theory Y. Okay? Theory X, you got to direct, do this, do this. Theory Y is that you empower the employees and they work because they want to do the right thing. So letting others participate in this decision-making process can improve their individual performance and satisfaction and improve the decision implementation. So the more you engage people, you're going to be able to implement that project easier because you've included what they do, the implementors, the employees. If you include their thoughts, they're going to be much more willing to implement because they're their ideas. Okay? If I come in and say, do this, do this, do this, they're going to say, what does he know? He's not here. He doesn't understand what the process is. So that's why we want to engage people. The next piece in this section, and some of you have had this discussion with me, is the problem-solving process. Couple thoughts. I would say we have a multi-step process. Define the problem. What is happening that you don't want to happen? Okay? Oftentimes, we assume a solution or a cause before we know what the problem is. So you want to state a problem. What is happening that you don't want to happen? clarity, avoiding solutions. Be specific. A lot of times, and might have heard this depending on what your jobs have been, we're short-staffed. The problem isn't you're short-staffed. Work isn't being done on a timely basis. We're not able to deliver the product in the time that is needed. We're not able to create this. We're not able to produce the volume we need to. It's not short-staffed. Okay? Short-staffed may be a cause, maybe, but it's all, and the solution, say I'm short-staffed, you would immediately say the solution is to hire more people. No, that's not always it. Okay? So you then have to stop and say, what is causing the problem? Okay? And in this step, causes versus solutions, we oftentimes run right to solutions. What's the volume? What is cause of this problem? If we had 2 workers and we had 30 customers an hour, and those 2 workers could handle 30, and we get customers go up to 60, we're going to need 2 more people because it's volume driven. Now, if we still have the same 3 customers and the speed by which they're being served drops, well, then perhaps we haven't trained the employees, or perhaps the process that we're using is inefficient. So focus on the cause. And this is where we're getting volume. You want a lot of causes because you don't know what that root cause is. Okay? Identify that if you solve for this, will the problem go away? I'd suggest to you, people say, short-staffed, let's bring on more people. Well, if the problem wasn't the number of people, but it was the volume or it was the process, you wouldn't solve it. Okay? If you don't do well on quizzes, so you could say, the problem is I'm not scoring good on quizzes. What could be some of the causes? Well, I don't know how to take tests. Okay? I don't check my work. Okay? I don't read the question thoroughly. I haven't studied enough. I don't understand the material. But which one of them is the root cause? Because if you just say, I'm going to study more, okay, I'm going to study more and I'm going to get better grades, but if your problem is if the cause is you don't know how to take a test, you studying for another 4 hours isn't going to do anything. So you identify solutions, select the best, you implement. But then you got to go back and check it. Did it work? And adjust. So we have a lot of problems, if you will, around challenges with that. Is oftentimes management wants a quick fix. Let's just fix it. Well, there's no money, lack of procedures, nobody really cares. The biggest one, no logical thought process. We don't want to think it through. We jump. Potential causes are misidentified as the root cause. We didn't define the problem. How would we know if it's solved? We don't have the people to have the technical knowledge or skills. We just band-aided, looking for quick. So these are some of the challenges we face in decision-making processes. In a rational decision-making process, we follow a step, define the decision that needs to be made, what are the goals, identify the criteria of evaluation, identify alternatives, evaluate them based on evaluation criteria, choose the best, implement, and monitor the results. So if we look at this is what we talked about in the problem solving. Define, set goals, identify, evaluate, choose, implement, and you have to have this feedback look.